Imagine being able to open any difficult book, ignore all distractions, and understand it immediately. We might not be able to do this, but we definitely seem to be expected to. With every passing year, my books seem to get harder and distractions stronger. I've always been a speed reader, but with hard topics, the issue isn't how fast my eyes read words. I'm limited by my comprehension, tiredness, and drifting focus, eventually feeling slow and stupid. So what if I told you I've found a way you can increase the speed with which you understand very difficult texts, and it's through never being allowed to speed read, adding a bunch of extra stuff to the words, and retraining the reading voice in your head. Let me show you how to train your brain, your focus, and your eyes for advanced speed reading. Training your brain, the playwright technique. Let's say I gave you this text and told you you have 5 seconds to tell me what it's about. Did you read the block of text at the top, or did your eyes skim the dialogue first? Probably the latter. Our brains love dialogue and story. Studies show that we are much quicker at reading stories than informational text, and with dialogue specifically, we are much quicker at reading and understanding direct quotes than indirect quotes, even when they have the exact same words. Characters, plots, and storylines make things much easier for our brains to grasp. To benefit from this, you can teach yourself to turn any sort of text into a story in real time. All you need to do is retrain the reading voice in your head. If, like me, you always read out loud in your head, there's not just one way to do it. If you're still using the way that we were taught as children to read the text word for word in your head like you would a novel, you're not only going to be reading informational books slower, you're also going to be understanding them a lot slower. The reason being, when you do things this way, you first have to tell your brain out loud the words that are on the text, then you need to ask yourself what it means, and then you need to explain to yourself what you think it might mean. Because these texts are difficult, abstract, and non-visual, it's very easy to feel like you are stupid and slow when you're reading in this way. So this is what I do instead. When reading something complex, I picture myself as a playwright. I think, I've been given some source material and I need to turn it into a play. I don't think of understanding abstract concepts and information. I think of characters, plot lines, stories, visuals, the scene. Very crucially, the voice in my head is not reading out the words on the paper. My eyes are looking at the words, but the voice in my head is only speaking the new story that I am creating. So let me show you what this looks like in real time. Let's say I'm reading the echocardiography of heart failure. This is quite an abstract and semi-complex topic. This is what I would do if I was reading the first paragraph. So I have my sick, heart-failed heart on the scene, and it has these valves which have gotten narrower, and sometimes they are like calcified and hard and thicker. And now we also have this Doppler, which is like an ultrasound machine, which is my second character. And when the Doppler sends these ultrasound waves towards the heart, then it's going to have these loud echoes, of course, because the valves are harder. They're not going to be as flexible and moving as well. So now this Doppler machine has come on, and it's going to check what the pressure is in the chambers on both sides of these damaged valves. Now, this Doppler ultrasound is really professional and super sensitive, and it can check if the blood is going in the wrong direction through the valves. Now, the specific type of heart failure, which is when the heart muscle has gotten really, really loose on both sides of these valves. It's loose both when the heart is resting, and that's when it's like on holiday, and it's also loose when the heart has just come back from like a contraction, so a workout. And this means that because it's been like really widened, these muscles are looser, these chambers are bigger, and it doesn't have that elasticity that the heart used to have when it was younger, so it doesn't get as small and big as it should be. So the general theme of what I do in these cases is I will humanize specific characters in the story. So it can be the heart has decisions to make and characteristics and feelings and choices and consequences. It can be electrons can feel this way. So by being a character, it's much more easy for me to think of what they're doing, to add extra dimensions of making sense in my head, and much easier for me to visualize and transform the text. By completely skipping my internal voice reading, it's rather focusing on creating this logical breakdown, on making sense of things and giving them to me so that I can understand. This definitely can take practice, especially if you want to become faster and faster at it. But I want to emphasize that it's probably something that we've all done to some extent. When we've read something that doesn't make sense and we go, wait, what do you mean? Or if you've ever had the misfortune, like me, of reading a manual without images, you're kind of confused and you just go, wait, let me break this down. And you try to create, okay, step 1, it does this, then it does this. So it's the exact same instinct that we have for simplifying things, for visualizing them, but just leaning into it a lot more intentionally to make this reading faster. Now, between my studies for university and research for this YouTube videos, the amount of information and text that I need to go through on a daily basis and see and speed read and organize and save and keep is insane. And it's absolutely essential for me to have a really, really tight and good organizational system to keep all of this stuff. So before I go on to training our focus and training our eyes, I want to show you where a lot of this information sits and how I organize it online. Now, as a bit of a productivity, organizational and reading junkie, I've tried and used so many different apps to keep my things in order. But the one thing that I have never changed since first using computers over a decade ago is my web browser. I'm the sort of person who non-regretfully always has 50 plus tabs open. I need everything to be there. I hate having to remember the name of a website or the name of a paper or something that I need to look at. I will just keep things open all the time and I cannot shut them because it fills me with so much guilt. And to be honest, it's not a really sexy conversation that people really talk about shopping for web browsers, but I'm so grateful that I was convinced by the sponsor of this video, Sigma OS, to give them a go. If your brain seems to work anything like mine, you really need to give this, at least the free trial, a quick go because it completely transforms everything. It's so intuitive, you can pick up the workflow within a few minutes. And to show my own personal workflow and how I use it, I've made a separate private video linked below that you can watch if you want to have a peek onto how I chaotically organize my things, because I really want to do it justice and drive home the point of how much this transforms your online work and your reading and organizing things online. There's separate workspaces for absolutely everything, all the hats I need to wear: student, writer, editor, YouTuber, procrastinator. All of these have their different spaces. All of the main websites are locked in and saved there. If I want to open something that's already open somewhere else, Sigma will take me to that tab rather than me having to duplicate things again and again. Opening and closing things is so much easier. Things are organized in a logical way where if you open a sub page, it becomes like underneath and not a main tab. It's insane. It's incredible. You can split screen to check something really quickly so you don't need to get distracted from the main thing that you're working on. And all Google Chrome extensions, especially Video Speed Controller for making videos faster, all work on it too. I have a link below that will give you free access for a trial, and also that video of my full workflow if you want to have a look as to how these videos and studying and things come together. So now let's get back to increasing our focus for speed reading difficult things. Training your focus, T is for troll. It does sound crazy, but adding more words to your text eventually makes you read faster. Let me try to explain. One of the main reasons I stop reading difficult things is because I just get bored. It's either too tiring or I'm not invested or engaged enough, and there's just much more interesting things. And what I do to increase my focus and therefore to read more is that when I feel that my focus is dwindling and I'm about to quit, I will then become a critic. If the text is being hard to me, I will be difficult right back. As I'm reading something, I will start to judge the way that it's written. So I'll say in my head, well, that makes absolutely no sense. Or why would you phrase this way? This is the absolute worst. Or, oh my God, that's such a good way of making that point. That's incredible. Or wait. How did you just say this? Where's your proof? Or you can't jump to this conclusion without explaining it beforehand. Oh my God. And it sounds like you don't even know what you're talking about. How am I supposed to understand? Now, these are value judgments on the writers. Please forgive me and apologies to all of them. Add another layer of interaction with the text. They put you in the mindset of a teacher, someone who's criticizing someone's essay. things that I really need to do a lot when I was a tutor. I use the same sort of harsh judgment on what they're saying. Being hypercritical in this way makes me hang on to every single word, catching them for a mistake or trying to prove to them that they're saying something wrong. It increases my motivation and laser focus on the words on the text, but also it helps me emotionally, because instead of feeling like I am helpless and stupid for not understanding something, I can, even though it's completely fake, put myself in the position of, I am your manager, I am the book editor when you sent this in, and let me show you how you've written all of this wrong. This sort of like semi-confidence boost really helps with increasing focus and is very necessary sometimes when dealing with complicated things to learn. At the very least, what it gives me is a few extra minutes of focus, and sometimes that's all I need in order to understand something or find the text interesting again. And it's this really good kind of motivation and focus patch that can get me going on for a lot longer. 3, training your eyes. There's no going back. This might be the most counterintuitive point of all, but I'm arguing that you need to train your eyes to stop going back to the beginning of the text when you haven't understood something. We've all had this habit, I've had it too, where I read something, I wasn't paying attention, or it was too difficult, or I just don't know, and I go through it and I'm like, I have no idea what I just read. And my instinct then is to go right back to the beginning of the chapter, the beginning of whatever I was reading, and go through it again. I argue you should never, ever, ever do this. This is so bad, and I'll try to explain why. If you are thinking, I don't know what I just read, or I don't know what this is about, or I don't understand what's going on, all of these, in my opinion, are terrible reasons to go back to the beginning of the text. What I argue that you should do instead is power on and keep reading. Start paying attention now. Keep reading until you have a specific question, until you have, wait, how does this thing work? Then when you have that question, you can go back to find specifically where the answer for it is. So rereading something just because you weren't paying attention the first time and have no clue is a bad reason to go to the beginning. You want to have a specific question that you want to answer, and that's where you can jump back to that part only. The reason for doing this is that having to redo something which is semi-familiar is one of the biggest causes of motivational drop, even in computers, not just in people. We do not like to go back to the beginning. It is exhausting, it is energy draining, and it really takes away any sort of motivation that we have to go through something. We have reduced our novelty. Even if we didn't understand anything, our eyes have seen this again. They're not going to care. And in the long run, if you keep jumping back and back and back to the start, your motivation is going to be nowhere. You're going to trash every sort of desire that you initially had to get this thing done, and you're much more likely to close the book and keep doing something else. So try to power on. You will have missed out on things, but those gaps you can fill in where they need to be, and when you understand why you need to know them in the first place, do not redo boring things. And even if you started reading something a long time ago, don't restart it again. Start from where you stopped, and then keep continuing going to the back when you really want to, because this is just a very, very easy way to make yourself more motivated to read longer and eventually faster. Please do give me any tips that you have for speed reading or understanding things better, or for final year medical students, because they would be greatly, greatly appreciated. If you made it so far, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself and others, and don't believe everything you think. Thanks. Bye.